What's good, everyone? You got me, Sean, again for the commentary on this duel. Orcust and Pendulums, combo decks that I know decent enough, unlike the last duel where didn't know that much against back row decks, but Pack's starting off with his Pendulum deck, and seems pretty standard. Pendulum's now playing a lot more draw power with the spell counter producing cards from Order of the Spellcasters. Electromite coming down. Probably one of my favorite cards, just not because it's a Pendulum support card, because it's a Metaphos card. And I love me some Metaphos. And putting the Jackal King into the extra deck, which just one form of negation right there. And the Mighty Master having another form of negation. Electromite adding back the chronograph. More than likely using the chronograph for the high scale. And there's both scales being set. The Pendulum summon of 2. And now we have Secret Village being played down, locking him out of any spells. Plus, that puts 2 counters on the Jackal King. So, John's going to have a little bit of a hard time here. Summoning the Mathematician's pretty decent because it turns off Secret Village and allows the Cosmic Cyclone to go through on the Secret Village. Pack decides to let it go through. Even facing down this board is pretty tough. One set and pass. Now, Orcust doesn't play a lot of traps in the deck other than Impermanence and Crescendo, so against this board, neither one's not really going to be that helpful because Pendulums can always just summon a bunch of big beaters and then just beat right over anything. And Pack has access to Boral Sword, just being able to just destroy the Mathematician and attack with everything else. Into the Void. Card being played in Pendulum Magicians now. Along with Desires, just putting a lot more consistency into the deck and even just putting spell counters on your spellcasters. If you play Pendulums, gotta have a lot of dice now.
Every time a Mystical Beast card gets destroyed, I can put 2 counters on this card. Okay. It's a mandatory thing, doesn't activate. Sure. And then I can remove as many counters on the field and search any card that I put a counter on for my deck. Okay.
And now, at this point, if you were in an official tournament, say regionals or something like that, you would want to conserve time and just scoop right here. But, hey, might as well get to see what he's playing in his deck for Game 2 and possibly Game 3. Garuda coming down to try and out that back row card, because, hey, he could have a Battle Trap. And it was a Bluff Crescendo. Now, he could try and use the Crescendo to get the Orochi to chump block, but staring down 2 Jackal Kings and a Mighty Master of Magic are not really going to help, especially since you could just activate Orochi and banish 8 for cost. Jackal King will just negate it, and it'll be destroyed. Either way, John's going to be hit for a lot of damage here. Down comes the Boral Sword. And a Mighty Master is put into scale. And now a Pendulum summon. There's the scoop. We are going to So John's starting off with an allure. Vanishing the skeleton. Well, he must have not had the best hand to have to banish the skeleton. I personally always would get rid of anything else but the skeleton. Though Foolish is a good start. Harp going to summon the Nightmare more than likely. And the Mathematician's effect. Sending the second skeleton. And pretty much now it's standard Orcust play going into the Galatea. Then effective Nightmare more than likely to send the wand and then use the wand effect. Now, wand bringing out Nightmare, I personally do not like. I would have brought back the second skeleton because you're going to have to use your skeleton again during your opponent's turn and during your turn to try and do other combos. So I just like personally being able to recycle the skeleton a lot, and getting rid of your nightmares is not something that has to be too concerned about because more than likely you're playing 2 skeleton, 3 nightmare. So I feel like recycling your skeleton is just a little bit more important than recycling your nightmare. And IP Masquerena comes down with 2 back row. Garuda's going to come down, threatening a spell and trap. Harp Horror. Summoning out another nightmare. And the Garuda now forcing any Orcust engrave because it is targeting the Babel, which is more than likely the skeleton, and go for the Galatea. And now Basilisk is being scaled. And Ash is going to be used on Basilisk's effect. And now Pack is just confirming if it can be used on Basilisk, which it can, since Basilisk does have the text saying draw a card. Spell Power Mastery coming down to search for any Endymion card. And going for, I want to say that's Magistry? I cannot remember, unfortunately, off the top of my head. Biggest one you gotta remember is Servant, but hey, sometimes you forget the name of a card. And now we're going for a Pendulum summon of the Mighty Master. And now forcing the Masquerena go. Linking those two into more than likely Zeroboros to threaten the entire field.
So we're summon me.
And then continuing main phase because of the fact that the conditions on the field have changed during the phase change, so Pack is allowed to either enter battle phase or continue his main phase. So a normal summon of Servant. And that's going into good old Electromite. But that's going to be met with an Impermanence. And now, with this field, John easily has the OTK because of the fact that he has a lot of cards to play off of. And he has the Wand engraved, so he can go Wand, bring back the Skeleton, link those two into a Galatea, and then possibly, if I can remember this correctly, he's going to special the Skeleton. He can then, yes, link off into Galatea using the Nightmare and the Zeroboros. Use the effect of Nightmare to boost up the Galatea, special Heart Power, go into Boral Sword, use the effect of Symbol Skeleton, special the Dingirsu, send the Electromite, enter battle phase, attack with Boral Sword, attack with Dingirsu, use the effect of Boral Sword to change Dingirsu to defense, and then attack for gain. The only thing that he would have to worry about is if Pack had something in his hand that could either stop it or even sending a Gizmek would work as well. But now he's counting up how much Zeroboros would be after using Gizmek.
He had a turn. His deck could be so like the boys deck was definitely like playable 3 years ago.
And Gizmek is going to come down with the 8 banished from the top of the deck face down as cost. And that will add to Zeroboros' attack. But I feel like Zeroboros is not really much of a powerhouse currently with this field because the most it'll do is hurt your own field. Gizmek will take out the Electromite. Zeroboros will do a lot of damage here. And Pack is left with 850, but as we all know, you can come back from even just 1 life point. And we'll see what Pack can do. And now Pack is just deciding on how to get rid of the Zeroboros, because it will just threaten John's board. And now there's a little bit of a ruling dispute. If Zeroboros activates its effect to special summon itself from the on the standby phase, and Zeroboros has a colon right before its effect to special summon itself, therefore it will activate if I have my rulings correct. It's unlike something like Mech Knight Purple Nightfall or Psyframe Lord Omega, where it says return.
Doesn't it say once per turn during the standby phase?
Because of the fact that if it did not special summon itself, it probably would have said return this card to the field, or something along the lines of
It's
that.
not a Mech Knight effect because Mech Knights don't have colons. It would just say like just some, yeah, it activates. Colon.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah.
It activates.
Yeah, no, it does.
Alright, that's perfect. Effect.
We have a Scale of Jackal, using its effect to special the Garuda and forcing the Zeroboros to trigger. Zeroboros is mandatory, it is not optional, much like all the topologic monsters. And then the effect of Spell Power Mastery. And now there are going to be 3 counters on the... Ooh, I am Magical Abductor, there we go. I was blanking on that for a while. But now he gets to add any Pendulum monster. And that can be pretty scary on its own. There's an open field, and if Pack can put up a decent board, he can easily OTK. Pendulums have a very good OTK rate. There's the Chrono coming down. Pendulum summoning the Jackal King. And now, I see this correctly, John has 0 cards in hand, so he has a very hard time dealing with this board, especially if he draws a monster like, say, Mathematician. And Zeroboros will activate. It'll be negated by the Jackal King. And we have 1 set and pass. And now we have Pack going right into the IP. And then right up with a pen summon of 2 big monsters. And attack for game. That's it.
It was a good match overall.
Nice.
I mean, this is a new build I'm testing. It's probably one of the more consistent build, and it lets me play through a lot.
There was a couple of misplays. I caught him right after I played it, so don't worry. I'll be better next time.